Hello, I'm Kate Alexander and I'm with Florida Studio Theater, and it is my really great privilege and honor today to be speaking to two very special people. Two people who are the heart and soul of the Perlman music program Suncoast, Toby and Itzhak Perlman. Today, Toby, you are the founder and the inspirer of the program for over 20 years and 10 years here today on Suncoast, and you continue to see its sustenance throughout the years in both places. And Itzhak, you are the world-renowned violinist and conductor. And then not only that, together your devotion to young people, mentoring classical musicians is unparalleled, really, and is heralded throughout the world. We appreciate you talking with us so much today here in Sarasota.
Pleasure.
It's a very special anniversary. It's the 10th year for the Suncoast. So I think on any anniversary, we have to pause and reflect a little bit. So I'd like to start with some reflections from both of you. And Toby, if I could start with you. Let us know how it's gone the past 10 years and what you feel about the impact.
I think it's gone well in the past 10 years. I think it gets better all the time because we get better. One would hope that everyone gets better as time passes. Hopefully we learn from our mistakes. We have a fantastic team. Suncoast and PMP, the two teams together are dynamite. And I think the program is smoother than it's ever been. And I don't know if I should say better. We're better at it. That's what it is. You know, we're just better at running it. And I'm happy. I'm happy and looking towards the future.
Why do you think there is such a special resonance here in Sarasota with the program?
Well, I think that the main issue is we're a lot of people. We're a big gang of people. And I think that USF is what makes it. They welcome us. The setup is perfect for us. We feel as if we're at home here. And that makes all the difference in the world. And if there's some sort of problem, issue that comes up, we simply work it out together. It's a non-issue. Mm-hmm. And that makes a huge difference, you know, it's being at home.
Being at home, that's a good word, I think. Itzhak, how about the students? Do you have any reflections on the students over the past 10 years?
Well, the students are basically students that are with us in our home on the east, you know, in Shelter Island. And so nobody comes here unless we know what they're about. We know, you know, what they're all about, how they play, you know, how they react, and so on and so forth. I just feel that the fact that we have a chance to duplicate our summer program in the winter is a huge plus for any program, and it's what actually makes us unique, because I don't know if there are any programs where you actually have a summer program and then goodbye, see you next summer, as opposed to this program is goodbye and looking forward to seeing you in the winter time. Mm-hmm. And that makes for socially the makeup of the students is it's indescribable as to how good it is, you know, just for them to have an opportunity not just to meet once a year. But then of course this program is not just summer residency, winter residency. We have a lot of things that's going on in between the summer and the winter and the winter and the summer and so on. But I think this is an extremely helpful and important part of their development, is to work together in the summer and then to see what goes on in the winter. And then of course to us as faculty people, you know, to see the progress that they make with just 3 or 4 months apart. You know, it's fantastic.
Can you describe some of the makeup of the students just to refresh us?
Well, they're good fiddle players, they're good viola players, and good cello players, and good bass players.
And they come from all over.
Yes.
They come from all over the world.
How many
They come from all over the world. Well, we always have a large Asian contingent, and we have a European contingent as well. And it varies from group to group, but it's...
And even from the States. Even from here. It's amazing.
Right, right. And it's enriching, and, you know, it's wonderful for everyone.
You know, I've often read that there's pressure on these kind of programs always to make them bigger. But I certainly applaud that you have kept it at a certain size, and I think it would be...
Well, you have to thank Toby for that.
It's very, very difficult for us to do that because we get an enormous amount of applications, and the level is so high. The kids are so good. And we have to say no to practically everyone because we only get an opening when a child turns 18. So they almost all return. If there's someone who doesn't return, it's usually because of some sort of illness or so they return every summer once they're admitted, and they don't leave until we kick them out their 18th summer. So we have very few openings, and it's so tempting to just take that extra few, but it's a mistake. Mm-hmm. Our secret is that we're tiny, small, too big to be a family, but too small to be anything else. And it allows us to focus on each child, to really know what's going on under each kid's fingernails. And I think that's, for us anyway, works well.
Well, I think that's amazing because so many people keep thinking you have to get bigger, and it's critical, seems to me.
Look, I'm very opinionated, but I'm one of those people who believes in small classes. 12 may be the maximum in a classroom. I don't know if it's proven or just a matter of opinion, but I think it's...
I think it is proven.
Is it? Okay, well, there you go.
I think there's a certain number that don't listen or will not get after the magic number of 9.
So 9 is the magic number. Okay, I hear that. I get it. I'm for it.
I also, just to touch on your teaching a bit, you know, I've really loved how you remark that so many teaching institutions can be very critical, and our expert educators can be very harsh to students, and you insist on a kind of quality. There's a gentility with which you approach your students, and I think that would be good to reflect on that as well. Gentility?
Yeah.
Well, it's my own experience with the teachings that I've had. I basically had 3 teachers. I mean, if you can say real teachers, you know, I mean, you're not talking about mentors, you're not talking about people that I was, crazy about or anything like that, but the real teachers, I've had 3. So the first one was a teacher who was a Russian background, and she believed in, like, you know, if she didn't like what I did, it was my fault. She would blame me for not practicing properly, and just, it was a very confrontational kind of a thing. Then I had, and that was a teacher that I had when I was studying in Israel. And when I came to the United States, I had 2 teachers, Ivan Galamian and Dorothy DeLay, and Galamian was in the same mold as my Russian teacher in Israel, which is, he may have been gentler, but still it was like, you're guilty because, you know, you do what I tell you and it'll be fine. If it's not good, you're not doing it right. That's it. But Mr. Lay was one that involved me in the process. And I didn't like her because I wasn't used to it. I was used to somebody just telling me, just do this and it'll be fine. And she was saying, what do you think of that? How do you think, do you like that? I said, what are you talking about? I mean, well, do you like that? I mean, well, maybe I don't. Well, how can you improve on it? And she involved me in the whole process of the thing. And I was very upset about that because I didn't like that style. Now, funnily enough, that's the way I teach. You know, so I like to involve, and of course she was always very sweet and very nice, and she did not attack her students at all, you know, and if something was out of tune, she would always not say it's out of tune, she would say, what's your concept of this note? Which was a kind of a code name for it's out of tune, but what you're going to do about it, but in a very nice way that you would feel, yeah, well, let's see, let me see what I can do about it, rather than saying, okay, all right, I'll do what you say. And that's a very, I find that it works very well. And it also gives the student the idea that they've accomplished something on their own, rather than just doing what they're being told to do. You know, but if they came out on their own with a solution to a particular problem, I think that's a much more satisfying deal than they're just saying, okay, I'm going to do that. And so that's the way I teach. And I think that a lot of our faculty, you know, have the same philosophy.
You seem almost, we share a lot in common with the theater, because I've heard you teach, and it's almost, as you say, having the instrument talk, using those words and finding an authenticity, which I find is a great word. It's asking a much bigger question than playing.
True. I mean, as I said, the important thing is for the students to reach the solutions themselves. And I think that that's really something, and you know, Toby has been, you know, studied with the same teacher that I did. So that was, what was your reaction? I mean, I'm sure it was the same as a kid.
I think that if you want to get something out of someone, if you want something from someone, the quickest way to get it is to begin by saying something nice. Mm-hmm. Very easy to criticize. Mm-hmm. It's just as easy to say, there's always something positive to say. So if you want the child to practice, practicing, of course, is just, most kids hate it with good reason. They hate it because it's really hard to do. And the parent who is working with the child, and many parents do practice with their children, especially families who are involved in the Suzuki method, that requires an adult to work with the child. You know, if you start out by saying something like, oh, that really sounded very, very good. Now, can you play it again? The minute you say something complimentary, the child's mind opens. It sounds very simple, and I guess it is in a way, but that's not the way many people think. They look to criticize, and I think especially parents get lost in this process. Lots of pressure on the kids, and it's tough. It's tough on the whole family, actually.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're making connections, it sounds like, instead of the judge that's separating. You're in alignment with the student. You're part.
That's the way I feel about it, and I feel that way not only about practicing, but about everything. Mm-hmm. You know, you don't need to be against your child. It doesn't really work.
Even if it's for their own good, which is usually the excuse for being nasty. He says, I'm doing this for your own good. Forget about it.
Do you find the parents are hand in hand with you as you work with them?
I prefer people under 4 feet. I'm at my best with that. And mostly I deal with the students. On occasion, rarely I deal with the parents. I build up, hopefully, a relationship of trust with the students. I discuss things with them, and then on occasion, when it's really necessary and important, I email the parents. Otherwise, that's just the best way for me, and maybe the best way for the kids as well. I mean, I treat them like human beings, and
maybe we should start a new camp just for parents, the way and how they treat their kids. You know, that would be nice. They can have a five-week course of what not to do.
Look, I think that it's all mostly coming from love and from wanting their children to do the best they can do and be the best that they can be. And I think that a lot of parents share those desires. They're normal desires. I think what happens to most of us, and after all, we are parents and grandparents as well, is that it's easy to get lost in competition and lose sight of who your child is. And every child is different, and every child has his and her own time frame of development. Mm-hmm. It's really true. We have 5 children of our own. They are different from one another in so many ways, the way in which they learned, when they learned to read, when they learned to walk, all of those basic things. And that's true of all kids. And it's hard for the parents to remember that.
Well, and it seems to me that you have such a trust in the process itself. And I know that you have mentioned, I've heard several times that so many things, that so many people have so much potential, but yet so many things get in the way. Push for success, push for result, and yet you innately trust the process and its own time.
Well, it's like Toby always said, everybody is on their own time schedule. And then, when you hear people, and there is always this incredible thing, listen to this 12-year-old who's playing absolutely unbelievably. And, both of us listen to it, and the first thing that we're saying is, oh my God, will this talent survive? And how will they play at the age of 19 or 20 or 21? So you've got all those 7, 8, 9 years of trying to survive that gift. And then on the other hand, you have somebody who plays, and Toby's very good at that. It's like, and they're not very, advanced or anything. And Toby says, I think there's something. And sometimes I say, what are you talking about? He says, there's something there. I said, I don't know. And then, 3, 4 years, and you see how they develop and how they start. And so it's never how early you're good. It's how late are you going to be good. It's are you going to be good at 20? Good at 12 doesn't count. 12 is very nice, but it doesn't count. And on the contrary, actually, there's more problems ahead of you if you're so gifted, so unusually that when you close your eyes, you think you're listening to a 20-year-old. There are more problems with that kind of talent than with a talent that shows a gift but is not yet developed. And so there's ways to go. It's a much more natural thing. I'm not lambasting people who are talented at the age of 12, but for me it's more of a problem, of survival.
Survival of the gift.
Yep.
I think those are lessons for all of life about trusting a process, really. Again, you need another experience for adults for trusting.
Yeah.
Let's move to today. I know, Toby, you have a new initiative, Super Strings.
Oh.
Can you talk about that with us?
Well, look, everybody should be involved in music. Everybody. And we have to try harder to involve as many children as we can in playing an instrument. I think there are a lot of studies out there that show that people who played an instrument at a young age do better in life or end up at an Ivy League school. I don't know, but what I do know is that it's wonderful to involve as many kids as possible in music. They can decide on their own if it's something that they love, something that they want to follow throughout their lives or not. But if they don't have the opportunity to hear and see and touch and do, they'll never know. So I think it's very exciting that we're doing this partnership. We'll see how it works out and hopefully continue to do it. It's not the first time that we've done this. It's a lot of fun, and we'll see. It's exciting.
I'm sure it must be pretty intimidating for the children to meet you. How do you deal with that? How do you put them at ease, besides your palpable warmth?
I joke around. You know, I always find, you know, examples of certain things in music and so on, and I make fun of stuff, you know. The important thing is not to be serious, but to be supportive, but in a humorous way, and to make them laugh. The minute they laugh, you know, whether I make you know, I says, you know, if you play like this, it sounds like yogurt, but I like it to sound like ice cream. So, you know, you make examples of food and stuff like this. Immediately puts them at ease, rather than saying something like, you know, you have to use more of your mind in the dish, you know, making some profound things in there, you know. It's all of a sudden, so what am I doing here? But if you do something that is closer to their understanding and closer, you know, that it's not so complicated, and then you can go to the complicated stuff. But first, to put them at ease, you know, I always feel that humor is very important, and humor that's connected with what you're trying to say to them, you know, is very important. So that's what I try.
Criticism has a lot of humor.
Well, it's got, yeah, you have to have, you know, you have to have, because the minute you're very serious, it's important, but you've got to start from the premise that you are not the enemy, and that you are not the person that will kill them if something goes wrong or anything like that. You know, I find it extremely natural for me, you know, to not be unkind. To not be unkind, you know, that's very, very important.
Yeah, and there are so many teachers that are harsh, and I think that's so refreshing.
And they feel that that's the good thing. We are not in that camp.
You've also walked a beautifully fine line in your master classes with the audience as well, in where you've been able to give constructive notes to the person with an audience watching, but letting them understand.
Yeah, but I always find that it's very tricky. You know, I want to make sure that. That's why I don't really like master classes a lot with audience, because I find, Toby always thinks that I'm crazy, that I should do more of them. But I just find that, you know, I don't want to get too technical, and then so the result is a fine line between what is a performance of a class and what is a real class that does good to the student. And I find, you know, and of course all of that nerves, you know, to play before me and then to play for an audience. I wouldn't love to do it myself. I wouldn't like to be in the shoes of somebody to do that. So that's my kind of opinion.
Yeah, there's some showmanship with it.
There's got to be, you know. So as a result, I'm not sure that that's so beneficial for the student. I'm not sure. I'm still thinking about it.
Mm-hmm. What is the impact that you, if you were going to say, what is the impact that you hope for?
I was just thinking about this issue of superstrings and what more about that, what that's about. And I think you're right. I think when the kids first appear, they are terrified. I think that the humor with which you greet them is very helpful. But in terms of impact on them, let's say, for the purpose of this discussion, I think that when they partner with our kids and they hear the sound that they make and they're a part of that sound, I think it really impacts. It can impact enormously. And if just one child gets the bug, it's a wonderful thing. So in terms of students, little kids, I think that is a way in which we can have an impact. I think in terms of Sarasota, I don't know, more and more people come to the tent. I think people enjoy it. I like to think that they look forward to our coming down. We certainly love being here, and I think it has a huge impact upon our students, and I just hope that it impacts as much on the community as I think it does.
Well, I think in closing, and really it's not enough time, and I know you're both extremely busy, but I'd like to use a quote from Virginia Woolf, favorite writer, who said that genius supersedes talent and intellect. It's someone whose presence changes us. And you really have come into this community, and by your presences have changed teachers, educators, parents, students, and our community at large. And I hope for the better. Thank you. Well, I was getting to that. But it's clear that it's a philosophy and a heart that's your devotion. And thank you so much for all you're doing and spending time with us.
Thank you.